Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. Today we are going to present about student development issues. In our presentation, we are going to discuss two initiatives to overcome student development issues, which are iCGPA and Teach for Malaysia.
To discuss about iCGPA, it will be covered by me, Nur Diyana binti Tumiran, and
Nurqistina Farzana binti Che Mansor.
And for the second one, Teach for Malaysia will be covered by me, Leona Michelle Petrus, and
Lastly, the last part for Teach for Malaysia is going to be explained by me, Noor Azlin binti Ab Razak.
5 universiti awam yang akan menjadi perintis bagi pendekatan baru purata nilai grade keseluruhan berintegrasi iCGPA bermula bulan hadapan adalah Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia, Universiti Teknologi MARA, Universiti Malaysia Terengganu, Universiti Malaysia Pahang dan Universiti Malaysia Kelantan. Ia akan dijalan dalam fakulti-fakulti yang terpilih dalam setiap universiti terlibat. Menteri Pendidikan Tinggi Datuk Seri Idris Jusoh berkata, iCGPA ialah inisiatif kerajaan bawah lonjakan 1 dalam Pelan Pembangunan Pendidikan Malaysia 2015 hingga 2025 pendidikan tinggi.
Dengan kejayaan program ini, pilot projek satu fakulti, mungkin dia kembang kepada 5 fakulti di universiti tersebut dan kembangkan kepada lebih banyak universiti lagi dan ia perkembangan. Mungkin kita lihat pemantapannya sekurang-kurang 3 tahun kita melihat pasal pengubahsuaian cara pelaksanaan pendedahan kepada pensyarah-pensyarah sistem universiti yang perlu diubah. Saya rasa minimum perlu masa kurang 3 tahun juga untuk dimantapkan.
iCGPA diyakini akan melahirkan pelajar yang holistik, berkeusahawanan dan seimbang. Ia juga membolehkan graduan mendapat pekerjaan selari dengan kehendak majikan. iCGPA telah dikaji pada tahun 2009 dengan perkembangan metodologi sejak tahun 2011 melalui kolaborasi antara pakar-pakar daripada universiti awam termasuk UKM dan UiTM. Datuk Seri Idris ditemui dalam majlis ramah mesra dengan warga kementeriannya di Putrajaya.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. I am the first presenter and my name is Nur Diyana binti Tumiran. So here is what we will going to discuss in iCGPA. First is introduction, second history, third establishment and content, fourth issues, fifth advantages and disadvantages, and the last one is impacts and example. iCGPA, or the full name is Integrated Cumulative Grade Point Average. iCGPA is introduced to enable the Ministry of Higher Education to achieve its vision of introducing holistic, entrepreneurial and balanced graduate in line with the Malaysian Education Blueprint 2015 to 2025 for higher education. Holistic, entrepreneurial and balanced graduate is one of the 10 shifts in Malaysian Education Blueprint 2015 to 2025, and the aims is to develop holistic, entrepreneurial and balanced graduate in line with the national education philosophy, such as the graduates would have relevant disciplinary knowledge and skills, ethics and morality, along with the appropriate mindset, behavior, cultural and civilizational literacy to advance them to a higher level of personal well-being and enable them to contribute to the harmony and betterment of the family, society, nation and also global community. So, friends, what is iCGPA? iCGPA is an integrated grading system for assessing and reporting students' academic performance and the professional skills attained during the course of their university study by assessing such students' performance across 8 domains of learning outcome. The 8 domains include knowledge, psychomotor skills, social responsibility, value, attitude and professionalism, communication, leadership and teamwork, problem solving and scientific skills, information technology and lifelong learning, and the last one is management and entrepreneurial skills. When iCGPA is established, the Ministry of Higher Education introduced the iCGPA system in 2016, and the minister at that time is Datuk Seri Idris Yusof, and he is the responsible person to introduce the iCGPA system. iCGPA Action Plan contains 3 waves, and this is what we call as Initiative Implementation Roadmap for iCGPA. The first wave is in 2015 that initiate development of integrated assessment methodology led by pilot HLIs, which is Higher Learning Institution. The second wave is from 2016 until present 2020 that launch and implement integrated assessment system by HLIs. And the last wave starting next year 2021 until 2025 that will refine and improve integrated assessment framework across all public and HLIs. Do you want to know why iCGPA is established? This is because iCGPA can explain clearly the assessment of the performance of a student by HPP, High Performance Program, that covers all 3 aspects of skills, namely cognitive, psychomotor, and affective, rather than the value of the cumulative grade point that purely on cognitive only. Students will be able to identify any weaknesses in their attributes and create intervention and strengthening before graduating to achieve the characteristic of entrepreneurship that are well balanced. Issues that cause iCGPA to be established. It because of the comments that wanting graduates who are holistic, have entrepreneurial characteristics and well balanced. Next is to assist in identifying the strength of students as well as improvement needed by them, and to assist potential employers in determining the suitability of graduates in meeting employment requirements. That's all for my part. I will pass to the next presenter, which is Christina, to discuss more on iCGPA. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. I am Christina and I will proceed with the presentation of an iCGPA. And I believe all of you have get the idea of what is an iCGPA, right? It is because the definition of iCGPA has been mentioned by Diana in the previous slide. So now let's look into 6 steps for generation of an iCGPA spiderweb. The first step is outcome-based curriculum. Outcome-based curriculum is a curriculum comprising of program learning outcomes and course learning outcomes mapped clearly in a curriculum plan or matrix. And this outcome-based curriculum, also known as outcome-based education or standard-based education. And in other words, outcome-based curriculum is an educational theory that bases each part of an educational system around goals, which is the outcomes. So here we can see that by the end of the educational experience, each student should have achieved the goal. Second step is course assessment plan. So, development of a course assessment plan confirms to constructive alignment. And in other words, course assessment plan is a document that outlines student learning outcome or department goals to be assessed during that academic year. Direct and indirect assessment methods used to demonstrate the attainment of each outcome or goals. And this course assessment plan has given benefit to students and instructors. Through the development of syllabus, instructors can get course goals, development student learning objective, create and align assessment plans, as well as establish a schedule for the course. And this course outline also works as a guide for students. Students will know about the material that they will engage. Okay, next is appropriate assessment method. So appropriate assessment method involve the measurement of attainment of course learning outcome using appropriate assessment attribute or rubrics. So in other words, once learning targets are clearly set, we can easily determine the appropriate assessment method. And these appropriate assessment methods have their own category. The examples of category are selected response, constructed response, teacher observation, and last but not least is student self-assessment. Step number 4 is grades of course learning outcome. So as we can see here, grades are derived from the calculation of assessment marks, assessment weightage, and course credit unit. Okay, next is grade point average for program learning outcome. It involves the accumulation of grade point for course learning outcome based on dimensions of program learning outcome or the MQF domain. So what is MQF? MQF is an instrument that develops and classifies qualification based on a set of criteria, and this MQF have 8 domain, and actually the 8 domain have mentioned by Diana in the previous slide. So last but not least is spiderweb for grade point average of learning outcome. So here we can see that generation of spiderweb for a specific semester based on grade point average and the cumulative values according to program learning outcome. So for example here, we want to target in semester 1. So the grade point average and the cumulative values according to program learning outcome must based on semester 1. So that's all for the 6 steps for generation of an iCGPA spiderweb. Let's move to the benefits for implementation of iCGPA. Actually, there are many benefits for implementation of iCGPA, but I only cover 4 benefits of implementation of iCGPA. So let's look one by one. The first one is students. So by implementing the iCGPA, students can monitor their development of knowledge and skills, and also ethics and morality throughout the learning journey. And the student also can have continual improvement through academic and co-curricular activities. Second point is lecturers. Lecturers also can have continual monitoring on development of students' knowledge and skills and ethics and morality. And then the lecturer also can have continual improvement on instructional approach. So for example, maybe the lecturer want to improve in the aspect of content delivery or maybe the approach that they use during the teaching and learning process and so on. The third point is employers and industry. So how implementation of iCGPA can give benefits to employers and industry. So it's by holistic screening and assessment for job applications. So it's stated here holistic screening is because it is the iCGPA is comprising of the 8 domain of the MQF, and as you can see, the aspect in the MQF are very holistic and uh, should be achieved by the students. Okay, and then other than that, employers and industry also can have evaluation of graduate quality for further improvement of academic programs. Last but not least is sponsor. So, how implementation of iCGPA can give benefit to sponsor is by monitoring the performance of sponsored students and graduates applying for sponsorship. Okay, and then next, sponsor also can match by the implementation of iCGPA, sponsor also can match the assessment of student competencies with the job position offers. So that's all for the benefits for implementation of iCGPA. However, there are several challenges for implementation of iCGPA. First is no proper medium for the trainers to assess their understanding of iCGPA prior to training other academics and implementing it in the faculty. Second challenges is rewriting of the course outline was a struggle. So here, if we have to rewrite the course outline, of course we have to rewrite the learning outcome. So if we rewrite the learning outcome, it will result in a change in the teaching learning activities, assessment strategies, and also assessment weightage. And last but not least is achieving constructive alignment can be challenging with learning outcome in the affective domain. So if you can recall back, okay, in our previous semester, we have one course named Principle of Evaluation and Assessment, if I am not mistaken, and we have covered 3 domains, okay, in order to construct a questions, okay, which are cognitive domain, affective domain, and psychomotor domain. So cognitive domain involve our thinking, affective domain involve our emotion, our attitude, our feelings, and for the psychomotor involve our practical assessment and so on. Okay, so in other words here, academicians need to know how to diversify teaching learning activities that are aligned with learning outcome and assessment strategies. Other than that, academicians also need to update their knowledge on the best method to achieve the learning outcome. So that's all for the challenges for implementation of iCGPA. So these are the institutions that use iCGPA systems. So as you can see here, there are 20 public universities which offer 426 programs with 58,119 students, followed by 18 polytechnics which offers 50 programs with the amount of students of 17,131, and last but not least, 13 community college which offers 7 programs with 581 students. So, how about UiTM? Do you think UiTM use iCGPA system? So the answer is yes. So ITM also one of the university that use iCGPA systems. So that's all from me, and I will pass the presentation to the next presenter.
An excellent education to me is that doesn't necessarily the education prepares you for the examination. The education has to prepare you for the life itself.
Pendidikan yang holistic juga, yang excellent education, also make a student feel that they are capable of doing something.
But besides that also, an excellent education also stands for a teamwork. We can interact with each other in our friends, and also doing group work, helping each other.
Bagi saya, excellent education means satu pendidikan yang berkualiti, memberi semua murid berfikir dengan waras mengenai masa depan dia.
At the point, many children in Malaysia don't have the opportunity to attain an excellent education.
Cabaran besar yang kami hadapi di kalangan pelajar adalah dari segi kedudukan ekonomi keluarga mereka
ஏழ்மை வந்து ஒரு காரணமாக இருக்குது. இப்போ நிறைய குடும்பங்கள் வந்து ஏழை குடும்பங்களில் அப்பா அம்மா படிக்க தெரியாதவங்களாக இருக்கலாம். அதனால் அவங்களுக்கு வந்து கல்வியோட அருமை தெரியல. பிள்ளைங்களையும் வந்து அவங்க பள்ளிக்கு அனுப்பி கல்வி கற்கிறதுக்கு அவங்க சரியான ஆதரவு வழங்கலை. இதனால் மாணவர்களும் கல்வியோட அருமை தெரியாமல் சில பேர் பள்ளிக்கு போகாமல் போய் வேலை செய்வாங்க. அவங்களோட எதிர்காலம்
郊外的学生们需要走大概几公里的路程来去上学。
So, well, I think the challenges I face in my school is about language. They'll find it really hard difficulties on speaking and interacting with other new people in English.
A movement is needed to end education inequity because none of us have the solution on our own.
Teaching is never, for me, a job. It's a service, it's a calling. So not everyone can be teachers.
Many of us become teachers, some for the sheer love and compassion and passion for education, but many become teachers because it's a job of convenience. Yeah, when it becomes a job of convenience, you cannot be an effective leader.
And that's why I'm saying Teach for Malaysia has got a different concept altogether. They are not taking teachers and training them to become teachers. They are engaging with a group of people who's passionate about education.
What we look for in Teach Malaysia is we're looking for leaders that are willing to take that step at the classroom level, school, district, or even state level and national level to drive systemic change needed.
And I come from a rather simple background. My father is a clerk. I had a person in my life who was willing to believe in me and who thought that I deserved a good education. And I think because of that, I'm inspired to think that everybody else deserves an excellent education.
So teachers are like the beacon, are like the lighthouse. I want to be that lighthouse for my students.
Throughout the fellowship, I learned to be a better leader. I guess I've never seen myself as a leader until I'm a teacher, because you're faced with hundreds of students every day and you have to come up with solutions sometimes immediately.
But the best part about the program is the alumni movement.
If they have gone through the 2 years of teaching, they would understand what it takes to educate a child. And from outside, they would be able to influence the system.
When we come out as alumni, and whatever way that we work in, we try to address this problem.
So right now, 4 of us, Teach for Malaysia alumni, we are starting up a literacy intervention program called My Readers. It is aimed to help students who have no foundation in English literacy, to help them go from being illiterate to literate in 27 weeks.
You know, we shouldn't be teaching the kids just so that they can answer exams. We should be teaching the kids so that they can use the knowledge to solve a problem that they see in life. And that's what we are doing at the social enterprise that I co-founded with 3 other Teach for Malaysia alumni.
Last year we achieved the Sekolah Bayangah status because we jumped, I think, more than 300 rankings
in the whole of Malaysia.
Teach Malaysia is a movement of change.
Changing education is a movement because the problems that we face are actually society-wide.
I meet many people and they ask me, how could we help the Ministry of Education? And one classic way is, how do we empower Teach for Malaysia?
We need individuals, we need institutions, we need corporations, we need the ministry, we need parents of the communities, and more importantly, we need the students themselves to believe in the ideals of Malaysia.
Hi everyone, so now I'm going to proceed with my next part. So before that, these things may seem new to some of you, or maybe not. Maybe some of you may have ever heard about this. Now we will explain about Teach for Malaysia. What is actually a Teach for Malaysia? Teach for Malaysia is actually a movement of a leader to empower our nation through education. It is an independent, non-profit organization on a mission to give all children in Malaysia the opportunity to attain excellent education. It was established in year 2010 and have wide collaboration with the Ministry of Education. It is a proud member of Global Education Network known as Teach for All, which is a collective of education organizations above over 50 countries worldwide. So in these organizations, there will be a Teach for Malaysia Fellows that will be served as a teacher for 2 years in highly needs school. Now speaking about this organization, why does this organization exist and establish? Thousands of children still do not get the opportunity to unlock their full potential because of different factors. This will lead to the education inequity or education inequality. This is such a massive and big problem nowadays. So, in the education inequity, this organization highlights 3 main factors. The first one is on the socio-economic factors. Children growing up from low-income family face a greater barriers to learn and get a better education. This is because sometimes they have lack of parents' awareness because they don't see the value of sending their children to school. They will force sometimes their children to do the work to support their family. Because this happens to those children who are living in extreme poverty. They will sometimes forced to work instead to be a breadwinner. The second one is on the systematic factors. There exist public and private sector structures that reinforce vicious cycles of poverty that high-need communities still experiences nowadays. Sometimes both of these sectors may be overlooked or did not take their initiative to helping the underprivileged students. For example, in rural area, they have lack of facilities and also accessibilities of the sources of learning. This will sometimes make the students demotivated and they will neglect their studies and do not have the motivation to raise their standard of living. The third one is on the prevailing ideology. Society as a whole has deep-seated and damaging views about families and children in poverty. They will have the mindset and opinion that children or a student that come from low background family will tend not to succeed in the education and unable to make any progress. So, these 3 main factors are strongly related to each other that trigger these organizations to help the children to unlock their potential to become the leader of their own learning, and also to instill the awareness on the children so that they will know the importance of education regardless of their standard of living.
Assalamualaikum and hi to our beloved lecturer and also to our fellow friends. Okay, so today, together with Leona, I'm going to discuss more on the Teach for Malaysian organization. Okay, so from Leona's part, we have already know what does mean by Teach for Malaysia, or I will address this for TFM later in my presentation. Okay, so from your point of view, how actually does Teach for Malaysia implement their effort in our school system? Okay, so let me tell you this. One of their main program that they are implement in our school system is actually the fellowship program. So what is actually mean by this fellowship program? Okay, so from the slide we can say that the fellowship is a full-time 2-year leadership development program. Okay, remember, 2-year leadership development program. So this fellowship is actually a program that the Teach for Malaysia implements in our school system. Okay, now let's learn more on the fellowship. Okay, so from the slide you can see that fellow Teach for Malaysia will teach in a high need school. Okay, so fellow refer to a person that applying for this program, and this person must be 32 years old or younger, and also this person must have a bachelor degree in non-education discipline, for example from accountant, culinary and so on, but not from education discipline. Okay, so fellow will be part of the solution in fighting education inequality and make a difference in the life of underprivileged students and community. So from the slide you can see that what does fellowship offer? Okay, so let's say if my younger sister who already have a bachelor degree, she applied for this fellowship program. What else do she get from this program? Okay, so from point number 1, you can see that they will besides from experience, because this is 2-year development program, they will gain direct experience in the education sector. Yes, because when they applying for this program, they will be placed in any school that in high need of teacher, or the school is needed in additional teacher or something. So those fellow will be assigned to the school. So it is a unique opportunity to gain first-hand experience teaching and also in problem solving. So because they never had any background in education, this is when the fellow get to work in school along with the teachers and the administrators. Okay, so point number 2, postgraduate diploma in education. Okay, I think some of you might understand this. So in Malay, we call this as DPLI, Diploma Perguruan Lepasan Ijazah. Okay, they will gain a fully sponsored qualification that allows you to continue teaching in public school system. Okay, thus whoever managed to finish this 2-year leadership program, they will get DPLI. Okay, so which later will allow them to teach in public school just like us. Amazing, isn't it? Okay, so point number 3, they will earn a competitive graduate salary. Okay, they will be employed. Okay, so they also will get salary because they were employed by the Ministry of Education and will receive corresponding salary and benefits. Okay, so now that we know what actually does mean by the fellowship program, now we're going to move on the new subtopic, which is the impact of Teach for Malaysia. Okay, so based on Teach for Malaysia yearly impact report, okay, so if some of you are curious, you can access their report from their website just like I did. Okay, so here I'm putting the report in a what we call chart, in a bar chart. Okay, so that it will be easier for us to look at the percentage. Okay, so let's see for the first bar chart, which is towards the student. Okay, so it stated that 36% of the student that taught by Teach for Malaysian Fellows experience more academic growth compared to their peers. Okay, so as we know, these fellows that are placed in school, they will only teach some classes because there are not much fellows that we have in Malaysia. So some student might have fellow teachers, some student did not have fellow teachers. So let's go to the second one, which is the purple one. Okay, for the communities. So 88% of the schools that are employed the fellow teachers, they are satisfied with TFM fellows and feel that they have contributed to the betterment of the school. So schools that have this fellow teacher in their system, they feel satisfied with the fellows, and they also think that the fellows has contributed greatly towards the betterment of the school. Okay, then the last bar chart is the yellow one, to the system itself. So it is stated that 72% of the alumni, which is those who have passed the leadership program, they continue to work in broader education and social sector after the fellowship. Okay, so moving on to our next subtopic. Let's see about the Teach for Malaysia contribution to our societies nowadays. Okay, so during this arising of pandemic, which is the COVID-19, Teach for Malaysia has contributed greatly by producing several guidelines for the online distance learning. Okay, so later, along with my explanation, you will have much more understanding about the guideline. So before I proceed, I personally think that the guideline that they have produced really helpful for me, especially who having a least amount of teaching experience. So I believe that some of you might have what we call my teaching tuition and online tutoring for this type of moment as a part-time job. So I think that this guideline that I will present to you later, I think it will be really benefit so that you can improve your students and your sisters, your younger brothers, okay, so that you can improve their online distance learning quality. Okay, so now let's see on the first guideline that they produce, which is assessing your students' level of technology or bandwidth. Okay, so if you went to their website, they will give you this perfect guideline to assessing your students' level of technology. Okay, so what is it about this guideline? So let's see roughly about this. Okay, so this is how they advise us to assess our students' level of technology. Okay, so for example here we can see that if the students have no access to any device at all, including smartphones or basic phones, then for the internet or data, the student have no access to Wi-Fi or data. The implication will be that not engaged in any virtual learning platform. Okay, so that what will happen. So, but if your student has a low access to smartphone with limited functionalities, which is sometimes they share it with their siblings, their parents. Okay, so with the internet data, they also has limited data package which allow them to only communicating in basic apps such as WhatsApp or Telegram. The implication is that you only need to use basic text function. Okay, as is stated here, only use basic text-based functions such as Telegram, WhatsApp, and Padlet. Okay, so here they advise us on how we're going to conduct the ODL. Now we're moving on to the second guideline that they produce, which is the setting and maintaining healthy boundaries while teaching virtually. Okay, so let's see roughly about what about this guideline is. Okay, so as school lessons and administrative work are relocated only on online spaces, we find that concerns about private spaces being intruded are frequently raised by many teachers. Okay, so because they know that intruders on private spaces has been quite a common thing nowadays due to online spaces. They produce these guidelines so that the teachers especially can refer back on how actually they maintaining the healthy boundaries while teaching virtually. Okay, so that is on the second guideline. Okay, now move on to our last guideline, which is collaborating with parents. Okay, so I know during our practicum as well, we have experienced some difficulties in collaborating or working with parents, isn't it? So especially we ourselves, because we still new to the teaching profession, and some of us might having problem already in collaborating with parents. And by having this guideline, it actually can help we to improve our way in collaborating with parents. Okay, so let's see. As teachers can no longer have face-to-face interaction with students, it is critical that teachers work hand in hand with parents to continue support student well-being and learning. So this guideline will guide you through on how to collaborate with parents toward the betterment of the students and their children as well. Especially for our new teachers like us, I think this can be really helpful. Okay, so that's all from me. I will continue. We will continue with Leona explanation on issues on TFM. Thank you.
Now I will explain about the issues on the establishment of Teach for Malaysia. Now as we look back, they have no serious issues on the establishment of Teach for Malaysia, as there are more advantages rather than disadvantages. But there are several misconceptions on the fellow of Teach for Malaysia's scope of work at schools. The first misconception is Teach for Malaysia fellows have smaller workload than teachers at schools. Actually, Teach for Malaysia can assure that they have advised all schools to provide similar teaching workloads to fellow as they would do to other beginner level of teacher. The second misconception is the fellows only train for few months, whereas regular teachers receive years of training. Training utilizes in Teach for Malaysia is no different from other initial teacher training program. They might also need to attend the accreditation courses to meet the goal of ending education inequity. The differences is they will merge with leadership principles on the job training to provide skills necessary for fellows to succeed in high-need community in order to help them. This training might be short, but it conducted with the highly skilled local and global trainers. They also will be paired with mentor at the school to ensure that they have fully guidance on their scope of work. The last misconception is existing teachers are forced to give up their preferred subjects due to the presence of fellows in their schools. Teach for Malaysia have engaged with wide spectrum of education stakeholders from JPMs to PPDs and to principals of school to determine placement for their fellows. They will see the fellows' academic performance so that they will be highly eligible to take the subject. And also, they are very particular and do wide analysis and always consulted with the ministry and school to minimize the impact to existing or regular teacher at the schools. So now we already finished discussing on iCGPA and Teach for Malaysia. With both of these initiatives, we hope that it can solve the students' development issues.
By implementing this initiative as well, it helps to develop the potential of individuals in a holistic and integrated manner.
So, as a future teacher, by knowing this new approach on addressing students' development issues, we hope that these videos will help you guys in your teaching profession in future.
Last but not least, as a conclusion, we hope you enjoy our presentation and let's have a discussion on this topic on our classroom. So hurry up
And
guys.
don't late.